Ari Aster's Midsommar has been in my top movies since I first watched it just over 4 years ago. Its beautiful setting paired with the hauntingly brilliant story and gore sunk this film deep into my mind, and it hasn't left since. On a recent rewatch, I picked up on details I never had before, but they felt so familiar to me, like I'd already noticed them, except I consciously knew I hadn't. Then it dawned on me. It was theatre. The gruesome scenes which initially drew me in subtly held within them concepts that I was unable to recognise until now. My last 3 years of academic studies, like real life study, opened my eyes to brand new ideas in Midsommar that take the vividity of this movie to a whole new level for me, and is something I just can't keep to myself. The spectacle of the body is something I learnt about in my second year of theatre studies, and is what led me down the performance art rabbit hole. The idea that the body itself and the actions performed on the body could be analysed as theatre created an intense interest in me. Or furthermore, that when the body bleeds from these actions, through cutting, enduring, or living, that the blood and body itself, as it twitches and reacts, is unconsciously performing in a true way that the conscious mind could never, was truly fascinating. This is a whole lot to dump at the start of a chapter, however, so I am going to do my best to break it down. Midsommar is infamous for its nightmarish practical gore, and it uses it frivolously to create intense moments of shock. Combined with its incredibly grounded fictional cult, which plucked from real Swedish folklore, I encourage you all to research Ättestupa, creates a very tangible world for these horrors to exist within. Everyone remembers the ritual suicide of the elders. The build-up to their deaths is minimalistically heart-racing. A build-up which goes against almost every expected trope to building intensity in a film. There are no rushing strings or fast-paced cuts. Aster builds tension with almost no music, and a simple yet booming drone. Slow zooms fill the frame, forcing the viewer to be consumed with morbid curiosity as the question of surely not turns into a silent plea of why. This brutal act of genocide shocks the American Friends to their core, as the beautiful work of the effects team spills out onto the death-inducing rock. The American Friends are forced to acknowledge something they do not understand, and as the old man takes the stage and follows suit, the performance is settled after a stomach-churning double act. It was this scene that first caused the tick in my brain that what I was watching was more than a thriller, but theatre on film. This incredibly raw moment, although meticulously shot and planned, echoed of spontaneous performance art to me. The combination of presenting new ideas through performance, the brutal expression of life and death in its actions, and the giving of bodies for the sake of your world, and in turn your art, is undeniably beautiful. Marina Abramovic is a Serbian performance artist and a massive influence on how I think about performing arts. Having created several widely controversial installations and art pieces, she is famous for putting her own body on the line and using other bodies as art. She does not consider her own work theatre, however, confidently stating, "Theatre is fake. The knife is not real, the blood is not real, and the emotions are not real. Performance is just the opposite. The knife is real, the blood is real, and the emotions are real." She is a widely discussed, written about, and controversial figure within the performance art world, and is ultimately seen as one of the most influential artists of all time. Rhythm Zero was an installation she crafted in 1974, in which she stood in the centre of a room for 6 hours and allowed people to use a selection of 72 objects on her body however they pleased. The piece served as a silent protest against the broader art industry. At the time, performance artists were not taken seriously, being deemed attention seekers or masochists, so Abramovich posed the question, what if the artist does nothing? Leaving the public to their own devices and allowing them access to her objectified body, her instructions were as follows. There are 72 objects on the table that one can use on me as desired. Performance. I am the object. During this period, I take full responsibility. It started off gently, with kisses being placed on her cheeks and wine poured into her mouth, a pleasurable experience for anyone to have. But it didn't last long. A couple of hours passed and people picked up the scissors and cut her clothes off. Another spectator rushed in to cover her bare breasts with rose petals. Then someone grabbed a razor blade and made lacerations on her neck, her blood pouring down to the floor. More time passed and people got braver, brasher. One spectator loaded the gun with the single bullet placed on the table and pointed it at her neck. Only stopped when another spectator snatched it out of their hands, a brutal show of the cruelty of an audience. I remember sitting in a lecture theatre being given by Dr. Stephen Greer, learning about this performance, no longer taking notes as I was captivated by how he told the story of this spectacle. He listed off the entirety of the objects given in the performance, and it was so oddly captivating that I will do the same now. Here goes. Gun, bullet, blue paint, comb, bell, whip, lipstick, pocket knife, fork, perfume, spoon, cotton, flowers, matches, rose, candle, mirror, drinking glass, Polaroid camera, feather, chains, nails, needles, safety pin, hairpin, brush, bandage, red paint, white paint, scissors, pen, book, sheet of white paper, kitchen knife, hammer, saw, piece of wood, axe, stick, bone of lamb, newspaper, bread, wine, honey, salt, sugar, soap, cake, metal spear, box of razor blades, dish, flute, band-aid, alcohol, medal, coat, shoes, chair, leather strings, yarn wire, sulphur grapes, olive oil, water, hat, metal pipe, rosemary branch, scarf, handkerchief, scalpel, and apple. After 6 hours of endurance, Abramovich stood and walked towards the audience. Unable to face her as a human, they fled the room. As an object, she was performing. As a human, she was haunting. She forced the audience to confront something they never wished to, in the same way that Midsommar confronts the American visitors, with a brutal spectacle surrounding the body as an object. Abramovich's Rhythm Zero illuminates a central hypocrisy about bodily transgression, which our society broadly accepts. If an individual finds cause to mutilate him or herself for an artistic reason, they face much criticism for such behaviour. But as recently as the 50s and 60s, state-sanctioned executions in many countries drew large crowds to witness official retribution on renegade bodies. The body as an object, as a spectacle, will always be important. Very few can fight off their intrigue when another's body is used for performance or as an object. The American friends in Midsommar parallel the complacent audience of Abramovich's Rhythm Zero. They witness something horrific which brings up new ideas, forcing confrontation with the body of another and the internal morals of right and wrong. Both performances have the key understanding that the body can be used as an object for something bigger than themselves, as the elders give their bodies as a ritualistic sacrifice to usher in a good life for the rest of the Harga, a joy to act out and to witness, more on spectatorship soon. And Abramovich shows the cruelty of an audience, the limits or lack thereof of an uncontrolled population, to highlight the fundamental flaws that surround spectatorship within the modern world. Theatre has stood tall for thousands of years due to its flexibility as a medium. It is loved and praised for a timeless authenticity that few mediums are even old enough to have achieved. But the modern spectator is a choosy sort and begs for more. Begging for films to innovate, for new plot lines or characters, and when new filmmakers deliver something genuinely new and interesting to these people, they throw it aside, complaining it's too different, too new. Take us back to the good old days when movies were proper cinema. A craving near impossible to satiate, the rise of cinematic universes and 6-episode series has destroyed the average viewer's media literacy, and it is the greatest downfall of an all-consuming species. Meaning can be found where none is apparent, and it is the role of the spectator to read between the lines. It's not a new concept within theatre studies that the spectator does have a significant contribution to an overall performance. In Christopher B. Baum's The Cambridge Introduction to Theatre Studies, he says, "A theatrical performance without an audience is at best a rehearsal, and at worst a hypothetical construct." The spectator's role within the worlds of theatre and ritual is crucial. The understanding that for a performance to be whole, the spectator must connect to it is as old as theatre studies itself. The effect of dramatic performance is at the heart of dramatics and theatre theory. Art historian Ernst Gombrich discussed the idea of the beholder's share in constructing meaning from a seemingly complete visual image. He argues that an image is always only partial, and the beholder effectively reconstructs or completes a perceived image through a combination of past experience, mental schemas, and inferential interpretation. The final scene of Midsommar not only echoes of performance art, the mutilation of bodies bringing out its authenticity, but the spectating of said rituals is where its meaning lies. As if the last ingredient of a 90-year-old meal, the Harga stand and watch as it unfolds. Witnessing bedtime stories turn to reality before them, their past experiences are expressed in the burning building they have all been taught to love. The tapestries and carvings we're allowed glimpses of throughout the film turn into reality for us. Even as the film's viewer, we are invited to share this moment of realization, of epiphany. As all the foreshadowing and cryptic messaging comes to fruition, the haunting payoff to the tentative viewer is realized in the beautiful flames of the final scene. The role of the spectator in Midsommar extends beyond what is witnessed by the in-world characters and is instead laid out for the viewer of the film to see. To spectate the events of Midsommar is to have an experience, one with real emotions, one of performance. Midsommar is designed to be a spectacle, designed to be spectated. Its meaning lives in its viewership, whether through the eyes of Dani watching her boyfriend turn to ash in the stomach of a bear, through the eyes of the Harga witnessing a once-in-a-lifetime tradition come to be in front of their very eyes, or through your own eyes, the viewer at home, experiencing the shocking final scene for the 1st or 5th time, feeling real shock from its stunning imagery, experiencing a performance. An image is completed by the eyes that see it, transforming the lives of the characters who saw it and embedding itself into the minds of the viewers at home. Midsommar toes the near impossible line of true connection through its story, whilst also delivering genuinely insightful media. Its unnecessarily stunning visuals mixed with its ingenious cult of the Harga lays bare the use of bodies and spectatorship as their most authentic selves. It captures the viewer through staggering imagery and draws you in, exploiting your morbid curiosity, exposing you to new ideas. Midsommar almost feels like it knows it's important. It knows its genius, and it knows you're watching. Spectatorship has become so much more important since the release of Midsommar, however. Its final scene is unbelievable, something no one forgets after watching, reflecting not only the most authentic side of ritual, but also doing so in a truly theatrical fashion is a spectacular and valuable lesson to the wider world of cinema. As I said when opening this section of the video, the death of media literacy is the greatest downfall of a consumption-heavy society. The rise of short-form content is deceptively corruptive and has tarnished a lot of consumers. With the demands of spectators seemingly on an unstoppable rise, it leaves me to wonder if it will ever stop. I wish to end on a quote, one that refers to such demands and the everlasting competition between artists and spectators. Marshall McLuhan says, "We are witnessing a clash of cataclysmic proportions between two great technologies. We approach with the new with psychological conditioning and sensory responses of old. In late medieval art, for instance, we saw the fear for the new print technology expressed in the theme of the Dance of Death. Similar fears are expressed in Theatre of the Absurd. Both represent a common failure, the attempt to do a job demanded by the new environment with the tools of the old." Thanks for watching.